Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Mayfield. I'm going to do a quick check here to make sure that we are streaming loud and clear. So let me do a quick test here. I'm going to mute this speaker, and I'm going to go out to the website helpmepasstherealestateexam.com, and we'll make sure that we're broadcasting loud and clear. It looks like we are, so that's good. I was trying to go through the YouTube regular server with my Switcher Studio, and it said YouTube's unavailable right now. So I don't know. Something must be with the YouTube stream going through YouTube. However, you can always do a workaround with my program that I'm using, Switcher Studio, and you can put in your custom key. So I saved my information into a custom setup, and looks like we're working okay. So I only mention that because I did a webinar today for podcasting for a lot of Missouri realtors, and I said, come over and join me at my YouTube channel. I'll be doing some streaming, and I just wanted them to see how, there's some really cool things I can do if I want to go to a particular desktop screen. I can also stream my iPad, so I'm able to do this as well. There will be a little code that will pop up on the display here in just a second, but I can actually type in this code, and now you will actually be able to see my iPad. So I can work right off my iPad, and a lot of things that I do through my iPad is I can pull up my paper here, or my iPad. It's just a little writing, and so many of you who've been on my webinars have seen me do this, and so I'm able to write and draw and do some different things, and so we can have a really good time doing all kinds of things with Switcher Studio. Well, we need to get into the pre-licensed real estate course. That's what we're going to talk about today. I want to very quickly, for a lot of my students, I try not to bother you too much with emails. I know I've been sending several emails this week. I had to give you an update on the testing center information. Don't panic. PSI is still open, but they may be doing limited number of testing. So definitely, as soon as you finish the 48-hour course, if you're in Missouri, or if you're in South Dakota, Indiana, Oklahoma, and Kansas, we are approved in, you cannot set up your examination until you actually finish the course, okay? That's a requirement. In fact, that's one of the questions they ask you is, have you completed the school? So don't go out and try to set your exam up in advance. But as soon as you finish the course, then you can go in, set up your exam, your test. There might be a little bit of a delay. However, I'm going to show you something really cool here. I have in your, this is for Global Real Estate School students, so keep this in mind. It's anyone can purchase this. It's a $97 value, but it's included with your tuition. But if you go out to your course library, if you were in the Oklahoma, let's just say the Oklahoma exam, it's kind of odd the way they have this here, but and I'm for some reason in the wrong. Let me go back out here to my content library. I always say go up here to the home button at the top left corner. A lot of my stuff is showing under completed. Let me look here. My apologies. That's the course. I wanted to go into the learning path, and I may have to go out, and give me just 1 second here. My course could have expired, so I'm just going to go take a look at this very quickly, and because I think this is important for you to take a look at. So let me take a look here. It'll just take a second. I do have, there are expiration dates in, and it looks like my it had expired on me, so I'm going to just extend that through December 31st, since I'm the school administrator for testing purposes. Okay, let me go back out and show you this here now. So right here, if I go into the Missouri course, this is what everyone's course will look like. So again, just to reiterate, you cannot apply for the exam until you print out your certificate. Once you do this, then you can set up for the exam. Now notice there's a little arrow up here in the top left corner. If you close that, you'll notice that you have additional modules down below. 24-hour practice course in Missouri. You do not take that until after you pass your test. That's just my recommendation. These are the review modules. These are unlocked, so you can use those. We have real estate math. I have recorded sessions. I have your practice exams and these new Missouri exam questions, Missouri law review. But be sure and go in here because you have some additional materials you can study. Now, click the home button up in the top corner. That'll bring everything back. You also have this course in your dashboard called My Real Estate Exam Coach. And this is what we're going to actually go over today. I'm going to start with Module 1, and we're going to work our way through. And I'm going to be doing this every weekday from 4 to 5. Hey, the schedule's been absolutely canceled, so I'm going to spend this time with my students, and I'm going to keep live streaming. I'm going to keep helping you. If you have questions, I want you to feel free to write those in. You can type those in the YouTube chat box. I'll go out there from time to time. So if I don't get to your question right away, don't panic. But before we hang up or disconnect the call, I'm going to go out and look in the chat box. So if there's any questions you have, please put those in the chat box. But every weekday, Monday through Friday, I'll be doing live streaming. These are being recorded. If you cannot make the session, maybe you're working another job, maybe you're gone through the day, these are on the YouTube channel. So the easiest way to find us, if you go to YouTube, just type in, let me pull that up here so you can see, just go to YouTube and in the search bar, type in Global Real Estate School. You're going to see some videos here, and then it says John Mayfield. Just click on that. It'll bring you over here, and then just subscribe to the channel, okay? And all of the videos will be there. You can see we're broadcasting live right now. The other place that I'm putting these, and you can go out here to the playlist on our channel, and if you'll notice under playlist, I have, I'm putting them out by, if they've been, some of these I don't have any videos uploaded yet, but we're working on that. But you'll notice anything that's math related is here, or finance related. I have all of my audio playlists. But look right here, real estate prep webinars. All of the webinars I've done and will be doing are going to be posted right here, okay? Sometimes I delete a video if I had some problems live streaming and there's just a few seconds. So anyway, be sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please understand I'm going to be doing live streaming every weekday from 4 to 5, and I will periodically, like today, I plan to send out an email just because I sent out the email about the broadcast. I plan to send out that we're broadcasting loud. We're broadcasting at 4, but I'll send you the link as well. But you can always go to the YouTube channel, okay? So enough of that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Always feel free to reach out to me with questions. Just keep studying. Don't panic about the exam. Hey, and don't worry about getting, I know there's a lot of concern and worry, and I think rightly so. We'll get through this as a country and as a nation. We have to be kind of upbeat and positive. I I don't know if it's because of social media or what. It does seem like there's a little bit more of a panic and a fear among people, but just follow the instructions they're giving us and study your real estate test and just keep using affirmations as I'm doing that the economy and the virus and none of this stuff is going to affect my business. I'm going to continue to prosper and do well. And that's just the attitude we got to have. So, anyway, enough of my preaching, okay? We're going to talk real estate. So, join me every day, and I'm going to actually start. We've got a brand new student who signed up just minutes ago before we started, and I made sure you were on the list. And I apologize. I typed your name in, and I could say your last name because I can remember it. Jordan. It was Jordan. I hope you're watching, Jordan. So this is fine for you to watch because I'm going to start with chapter 1, and you haven't even started, hopefully, yet. And so Jordan you'll be fine watching along today, and appreciate your business, Jordan. But we've had a lot of students that have just signed up, so we're going to get right into this. Now, this is from, and I won't be using this every day because I'm going to be selling it, but I'm going to use it today. And this is in your dashboard. It's called myrealestateexamcoach.com. Or My Real Estate Exam Coach, but I will have a landing page up there, and it's mobile friendly. I designed it for you as students for my school to help you prepare and pass the real estate exam on the first attempt. That's what we always say, right? So this is going to be a really cool addition, and I encourage you to take a look at it. It's in your course dashboard. Many of you will also get this added in a portal called Business Tech Guy University, and I don't want to go there and confuse you. Just look in your dashboard. You'll find the information there. So we're going to go through this and get started right now. And I'm going to, from time to time, maybe go over to my iPad and draw some things out. And I can actually, and I may do this as well. We'll see how this works out, because I can actually put my picture there. Let's see if, go back here. There we go. Now you should be able to see me, but that's not exactly where I wanted to be. I want to move that up here in the corner. Now we'll try this. Okay, there we go. So I love to be able to look in the camera and pretend like you're there and I'm coaching and talking to you, but I'm going to hit the begin button. And again, this is ideal to use on your mobile phone. And I'm going to go through some of these concepts. This is broken down, by the way, too, that the sections are for the exam. And so what I did when I prepared this was I took the PSI outline, and I looked at all the topics, and I looked at all the learning objectives, and I made certain, which my course is built like that. I mean, I cover all the same topics in the course, but I organized this material for this program to match the PSI examination. And I did that for a couple of reasons. Number one, occasionally there are students that do not go to Global Real Estate School, because we're going to speak positive here at Global, right? Occasionally there are students who maybe don't pass the test and they do poorly in a particular area, like maybe property ownership and real versus personal property. And so now they can go right into My Real Estate Exam Coach, study that topic, and they've got the information right in front of them. So it's good for those folks who haven't passed the test and did poorly in a specific chapter or module, because it can help you go in and prepare for the next time you take the test for that specific area. And so this is very interactive. I wanted to make sure all the learning objectives were covered and that we go through the material very well. By the way, so far, and unless someone's taken the test this month and hasn't reported to me, every person I've talked to that's gone and taken the exam in March from Global Real Estate School has passed both parts on the first attempt. So I'm thrilled about that, because January and February were kind of some rocky road. Our pass rates were okay, but they were nowhere where I wanted them to be. But this month it looks like we're knocking it out of the park, and that's prior to adding this additional item to your course material. So let's talk about property ownership, and you can see here. Basically, I have some flashcards. We've been doing those the last two live streamings, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because really just a few web streams ago I talked about land, I talked about real estate, and I talked about real property. Now, if I can jump over here to my iPad very quickly, I'll just want to point out a few things that you need to know for the examination, and we'll make sure that everybody's on board for this, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. So one of the things that I want you to understand when we talk about land, so when I talk about land, here's what you need to remember: natural, okay? Land equals the natural items. Remember that if this was the center of the earth and this is the 100 by 100 lot you bought, you own to the center of the earth and you own out into infinity. But when you think of land, just think natural, okay? When you think of the words real estate, it's equal to natural and man-made, okay? So, in other words, when I just did something and lost my live stream, lost my mirroring there, and I think I pressed a little key on my keyboard because I have this at an angle. So, when you think of real estate, think of natural plus the man-made items. House, fence, garage, the man-made items. And when you think of real property, and I'm just going to abbreviate that, it's natural, man-made, and we call this your bundle of legal rights. Okay, your bundle of legal rights. Now, we use these terms interchangeably, but for the examination, they're going to use them. They're going to possibly ask you questions, and you just need to be able to quickly say, if I see a question that says, and it just talks about rocks, soil, water, grass, center of the earth to infinity, that's the definition of land. If they start throwing in rocks, a garage, an easement, they use the word appurtenant or appurtenance, you immediately know that's a real property, because real property is the natural items, the man-made items, and those bundle of legal rights. So when you purchase real estate, or someone even gives you real estate, you get rights to that parcel of property. And so they use those terms interchangeably. Don't let that confuse you a whole lot. Just remember that, and you'll be good, okay? Now, I'm going to, actually I did this yesterday, so I'm going to scoot this down here, and then I don't have to worry about putting that code in each time. Okay, so we've got the definition here of land. Remember, land's the natural items, center of the earth to infinity. Real estate, real property, gone over that. Any questions you have, again, put those in the chat box and I'll answer those at the end. Now, with my real estate exam coach, I've tried to include a lot of videos. I just go back over what we talked about there. There is some audio. The audio is optional. You don't have to play the audio. But here we're talking about the economic characteristics of real estate. And you can see there's several things here. First of all, and I'll just make sure that I'm not blocking that, scarcity. They love these questions about economic characteristics. They really love to ask you the question, how does this scenario affect buying or selling real estate? And you just have to kind of think through these. They're questions, they're not the most challenging questions, okay? But they're not recall questions. Land, real estate, real property, kind of a little bit more of a recall question. These are going to be that step up question. So there are three levels of questions: recall, which are the easier, then they give you this middle of the road question, and then they get into the more analytical, or they want you to apply the information. These questions, I think, this is my opinion, fall really in the middle of the road. They are the questions that are going to talk about, they're going to give you a scenario, and they're going to ask you a question: what's going to happen to the real estate market? Is this going to increase the number of buyers, or will it decrease the number of buyers? And you just have to really look at these and ask yourself. So, scarcity. If there were not a lot of homes for sale, this is the kind of market we've been in right now. If you had low inventory, and which is scarce, right? But you had an abundance of buyers, what would happen to prices? They would probably go up. Low inventory, lots of buyers. In other words, it's like toilet paper, right? You can't find it anywhere. So what people are probably going to start selling it on the side or whatever, and the people start freaking out, and they're going to pay a lot of money for that, right? I mean, you just have to look at these questions. But scarcity, because land is limited in supply, it will affect price. Now, in my area, a good example is land. Land, of course, we know there's scarce, it's a limited supply. But if we look at land and properties that are around the Farmington area, prices are kind of high. I could take you down 40, 50 minutes away to Reynolds County, which is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. I mean, I drive down there and I remind myself I live in one of the prettiest places of the world, and I've been to a lot of places out there. But you can buy land very, very cheap there, down around Lesterville and Black, Missouri, and because there's more land available, and there's not as much demand because it's further out and away from things. So scarcity. Area preference is another economic characteristic of real estate. And think of area preference. Think of your area where you live. There are neighborhoods that people want to live in. The neighborhood that I'm in, Holiday Park, 25, 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, very demanding neighborhood. In fact, the cul-de-sac I live on, it was always my favorite part of Holiday Park. And when this house came up for sale back in 1999, I told my wife, I said, we have to go look at it. I love that home. And we bought it and moved in 2000. But Holiday Park now, and this is another exam question, neighborhoods go through life cycles. So you have a new neighborhood, and it's a new development, and then it peaks, and then there's a decline, and then a revitalization. Now, I won't fill in all the blanks between my wife and we purchased this home we're in. We lived here for 6 years, and we sold the home, and we had purchased a pick-your-own blueberry blackberry farm, and we built our dream home there. And in '07, actually, I think we sold it in '07 or '08, I can't remember exactly. And we sold the farm, moved to St. Louis, came back to Farmington because we owned a rental property here. And last January, or a year ago January, we decided to sell our home, and we repurchased our old home. So I'm back in the home my wife and I always loved. But there is some concern with my wife and I because um, the neighborhood holiday park, we're kind of starting to see some things that we wish we weren't seeing in parts of the subdivision. Additional cars that are being parked in front yards and in this back of the home, and people not taking good care of their lawns like they used to always do in Holiday Park. So it's a good example of that neighborhood life cycle. Still a very good neighborhood, and there's still lots of nice homes. But as a real estate agent, I can see that could in 5 or 6 years it really starts to hit the decline stage. Now, at some point, it'll come back and revitalize. That's just the way the neighborhood life cycle is. Now, I tell you that to say at one time, Holiday Park area preference was off the chart. You listed a home in Holiday Park and it sold. Now, there are 3 new listings in my subdivision. They've all 3 gone under contract very quickly. So I think there's still some good area preference to the subdivision, but you know in your community where those specific areas are that people just want to live. And that's again an economic characteristic, area preference, location. We talk about the permanence of the investment when real estate has utilities added, roads, all of those things. They're long term and capital investments. And so the permanence of the investment, when you put those roads in, you put certain things in, they're going to be there for a while, even like a well or a septic tank. And then we talk about improvements in general. They can either increase or decrease a property's value. So keep that in mind. You're going to need to know these economic characteristics of real estate, and they're going to be a little bit faster pitches. I like to use softball or baseball analogies or softball. They're not going to be the underarm slow pitch, okay? They're going to be a little bit faster, and they're going to require you to think a little bit more and to read the question a couple of times and to understand what are they asking me and how does this apply to an economic the economic characteristic of real estate. So then we go over to, and I have some flashcards here for you too. I don't know if we missed the physical characteristics of real estate. I probably need to move this around, but I have some flashcards here. Heterogeneity is the fact that no 2 parcels of real estate are alike. So these you would just take your finger on your phone, or I'm taking my mouse and I'm dropping those. Durable, again, that I think that's a physical characteristic of real estate. Permanence of investment, that's an economic characteristic of real estate. Improvements, again, economic characteristic of real estate. Area preference, economic. Scarcity, which one of those would you put it there? I'd put it economic. Immobility, you can't move land, so it's a physical characteristic. It's immobile. So we got 7 of cards of 7 correct there, so we did pretty good. Okay, just talked about the physical characteristics. I think these are pretty self-explanatory. For me personally, I have more of a challenge on those economic, but I think we all know land's indestructible. It's immobile. You can't move it. And the heterogeneity or the non-homogeneity, no 2 parcels of real estate are alike. Now, this is one of the things I'm really excited about with my real estate exam coaches. Yes, I am in a coach's uniform. By the way, I noticed I went to Dick's Sporting Goods and I asked the salesperson there. I said, I really want to get a coach's shirt, and he recommended this. And then the next day was the Super Bowl, and I noticed that the coaches were wearing this same. They had a long sleeve shirt on underneath theirs, and that was branded with their team logo, but there was the same coach's shirt, so I thought that was pretty cool. And I didn't pay that much for it either. I don't have my whistle on in this first video because I forgot to put it on. But in the other videos, I have my coach's whistle as well. I don't ever use it, but it's there. But these are short videos where I remind you what the definition of certain things are. I give you tips on passing specific questions, and I just had some fun with it. But I wanted to be able to give you short, concise videos that would help you learn the topics. And I really want this to be kind of like I am your coach helping you out. Now, we're in property ownership, real versus personal property. And this is the first module in this section, and I'm going to continue to go through this entire course, as I've mentioned, every weekday 4 to 5. The next section really wants to know what a fixture and a trade fixture is, and you're going to see this on the examination. And just remember that fixtures have been so attached to the property that now they've become part of the real estate. Good example of that is like a built-in dishwasher, curtain rods, things that at one time they were movable, they were personal property, but now they've been so attached they've actually become part of the real estate. That is called a fixture. A trade fixture, on the other hand, is personal property that the tenant has installed for the use in their business. So if you put a restaurant in and you install the ranges and the walk-in coolers and shelving and anything else, those items would be considered personal property, because trade fixtures are considered personal property. Now, you have to remove the trade fixture before the lease expires. Otherwise, the landlord can keep the trade fixture. So, again, they're going to ask you questions, and they're going to give you scenarios, and they're going to, want to know, is this a fixture? Is it a trade fixture? And how does it apply to this question they're asking you? And I think you'll be fine on those. Just read them carefully and understand. Just remember, if you can move it, it is personal property. Now, another name for personal property is personality and chattel, C-H-A-T-T-L-E, so don't forget that. You can see that right here. So if you can move it, it's personal property. I'm going to grab a quick drink of water here. One of the things we talk about in the course is this word called implement and implements. And notice, implements are crops that require annual cultivation. Implements are considered personal property. Again, this could be a recall question, but it's probably going to be a level 2 question, and here's an example of how they're going to use this. John Smith leases property from Farmer Grant. Okay? John plants soybeans on the 40 acres. Farmer Grant sells the property to Bob and Sue. Bob and Sue tell tell John, who leased the property and planted the soybeans, that he has to leave. Who owns the soybeans? Well, it would be John. Why? Because annual cultivated crops are considered personal property. So even though Farmer Grant sells the property, the person who planted the crops, John, he gets to come back and get those, take those crops or cultivate those crops. So again, it's implements. There's another kind of a Greek name, Fructus Naturales, Fracturus Naturalus, fruits of nature. something like that. They took phonics out of school. I always mention that. But implements, just remember, if you see a question and they're talking about a tenant and they planted crops and the new owner wants the tenant to hightail it out of there, well, you can't do that. And we talk about in leases anyway, some other things on, you can't, just because you sell the property, that doesn't terminate the lease. But remember that annually cultivated crops belong to the tenant, and they can come back in and they can cultivate those crops. Now, this right here in the green box, a lot of times I've seen this question in the past. How do you transfer personal property? Through what is called a bill of sale. Does anyone ever do that in the real estate industry? Not really. I mean, I've been doing this 42 years and I've never used a bill of sale. I probably shouldn't say that, but I just haven't. We have a place on the contract that says what stays, and we usually type the range in the refrigerator. But for the real estate examination, if they ask you how you transfer personal property, to get the question right on the exam, just answer bill of sale, okay? And you'll be fine. Another short video. By the way, these are unlocked, so you can scroll down through. You don't have to, go through each section. It's designed to kind of go wherever you want. We talk about the method of, I'm going to go over here to my iPad again, and I think it may have, the screen went off, but hopefully it'll come back up here. 5493. Okay, so let's put this up here. I'm going to take the picture and a picture off there for just a second. There we go. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So I can draw a little easier here without. So how do the courts determine if an item was a fixture or not? And we use an acronym called MAID, M-A-I-D. We look at the method of attachment. All right, that's the first thing. If it has been attached with huge bolts and anchors and whatever else, like your curtain rods, they're attached to the wall in such a manner they need to stay. Now the drapes you can unhook and they could be considered personal property. You need to spell that out in the contract. But the method of attachment, how was it attached? They will also look at the adaptation of the article. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, if there's a gazebo next to a fish pond, and I have a video that I show our fish pond and the gazebo we put in, our gazebo is not anchored to anything in the ground. It's sitting on concrete blocks. If I sold my home, my wife and I, if we sold our home and we had a flatbed trailer brought in and we picked up the gazebo and we put it on the trailer and we hauled it off and the new owners came in and it was gone, they would probably be livid because it really makes that whole pond area with our sidewalk and our fish pond. And they could go to court and they could probably win because that gazebo adapts to that area, even though it's not anchored in, that the courts would probably say, however, we know it was movable, Mayfield, but it's really part of the real estate. So they'll look at the adaptation, they'll look at the intention of the parties. what was the intention when it was originally installed? And they will also look at, did an agreement exist? So if I take this gazebo and I say, wait a minute, it says on the contract the gazebo does not stay, and they sign the contract, then the courts would look at that. So they're going to look at the made. Just remember this. It's the method of attachment, the adaptation of the article, intention of the parties, and did an agreement exist. My apologies for my bad handwriting, but I'm writing at an angle, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, moving on. We're going to go over here to, these were a couple of definitions I saw in some terminology. Constructive annexation is really when you take like curtain rods and you put those up. That would be the correct definition. This actual annexation goes more like a garage door opener. It's an item that's considered a fixture even though it's not been attached to the real property. And you could see a question regarding actual annexation. And again, that's just something like your garage door opener, the key to your house. Both of those would also go along with the adaptation of the article. Even though you can move the key or move the door, you could say, hey, the garage door opener is a universal garage door opener. We want to take it to our new home. Well, sorry, you lost the original garage door opener, but that is probably going to be need to be left under what is called actual annexation. Again, it's an item that is considered a fixture even though it's not attached to the real estate. And so now we're going to go over to some quiz questions here. And I'm adding more and more questions as we go through. And so all of these questions, I'm not going to go through these with you right now, but the right to possess, enjoy, exclude, control, dispose of real property is found only in the definition of, well, see, that's how they could ask you these questions here. And would that be real property? Would it be land? Would it be a bill of sale? Or would it be real estate? Now remember, so it's the right to possess, enjoy, exclude, control, and dispose. What does that mean? Sell or give away of real property. Well, remember the definition of real property? Let's go back here. If we look at that question and we go back here, oh, there it was right there. Land, natural. Real estate, natural, man-made. Real property, natural, man-made, and this thing right here called the bundle of legal rights. So if we look back at this question, the right to possess, enjoy, exclude, control, and dispose is only found in what? It is found in real property. And so I'll give you the key and I'll also tell you the correct answer, whether you get it right or wrong. Now, one quick thing here. In the regular course, in my course, I have audio feedback if you do not get a question correctly. I can't do that with this specific course authoring software, but the wording is there for you, so just keep that in mind. The other thing I will tell you is that you still have access to those 500 plus exam questions, and I should show you that. Just to remind you that if you, I'm going to exit out of this module now. If you go to your home button right here, you go into your course learning path. I'm just any of your learning paths. Remember to close this arrow right here, and down below you can close these arrows. You'll find lots of additional material down here. These are all in your course. I need to ask them if there's a way I can make those from opening up. But here are your practice questions right here. And you will notice, so here we go. So I can go into any of these exam questions and start. These you have access to already. So land is considered indestructible, immune to the forces of supply and demand, a wasting asset subordinate to real property. Well, land's indestructible. And so I give you the feedback there. Now, the reason I'm giving you this information is that my real estate exam coach, what we just looked at, the question we just looked at, most all of the questions in that module, not all of them, but the biggest part of them are brand new questions. So not only do you have all of your questions in the practice exams, which are, I think there's over 500. And by the way, a lot of those are repeat questions from your course, but there are a lot of questions in that module, those modules, that you've never seen before. So I always encourage people to take those. But the questions in my real estate exam coach, 90% of those questions you will have never seen. They're brand new questions that I'm recreating and typing up and adding. So just wanted to give you that information. Well, we have been on for 46 minutes. I hope this has been helpful for you. I didn't mean to spend so much time at the beginning talking about some of the topics that we went over, but felt that was important for you to know and to see my real estate exam coach. But tomorrow, 4 to 5, I'm going to pick up with the second part of property ownership. We'll get right into the information very quickly. So again, be sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make a reminder in your phone, 4 o'clock, if you're home, hey, and you're taking the exam, you're taking the course, 4 o'clock, I need to jump out there and see what's going on with John's course and watch the live streaming. And then if you can't watch it, we'll make sure I'll make sure that they're all posted for you. And by the way, I am going to go out there right now and see if we have any questions. So if anybody's typed any questions up, if not, I'll just make some up so that you'll think people were asking me questions. No. So, okay, so let's go out there to help me pass the real estate exam. And I see a couple. Hi, Sue. Thanks for joining. So I do not see any questions, but that's a good sign. So thanks for joining. Join me again, 4 to 5 tomorrow. We'll pick up on some more. And please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm always here to help you out. I appreciate your business, and stay safe, and we'll get through all this together, right? Good positive thoughts is what we have to do. Hey, thanks for watching the webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. Go out and make it a great day. Bye.